When should I consider selling my art? That's a question that we all finally come to ask ourselves at some point in our artistic journey. Normally, when we start off, it's just a hobby. We're just doing it for pure enjoyment. But at a certain point, we all get that little thought in the back of our head that, gee, maybe my art's worth something. And should I consider selling it? So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. But before we get on to that, you could do me a big favor. You can hit that subscribe button. And if you like my content, you want to see more videos, you can give me a big thumbs up. So let's get back to that. So should you consider selling your art, and when should you consider selling your art? Well, the first thing we need to consider is the value of your art. Now, if you've seen other videos of mine about this whole process of selling your art, this may sound a little familiar to you, but every piece of art has a value, and that value is actually determined by the public. And it's how much in general the public is willing to pay for a piece of your art. And so, first of all, you want to get to the point where your art actually has a positive value before you try selling it. Now, this may sound kind of strange or weird, but it's very likely when you start off that your art actually has a negative value. And so, what do I mean by that? Well, say, for example, you take $100 worth of art supplies and $100 worth of framing, and you create a painting and you frame it, and you can only sell it for $150. Well, you've actually now devalued the raw materials by $50, so that the supplies themselves and the framing is worth more than your framed piece. But it can even get worse than that. I mean, you could be at a situation where you can have a finished framed piece of art, and nobody wants it even for free. So that doesn't have anything to do with the value of you as a person, or the value of the art to you, or the value of your time that you spent creating it to you. But it does have to do with how much the public is willing to spend for your art. And at the very beginning, the answer is probably not very much or nothing at all. So, how do you know then when it is time to start thinking about selling your art? Well, the litmus test that I use is when you start to get inquiries from people who are not family or friends about paintings of yours. So it is very important if you're thinking of kind of taking your art from something like a hobby into something more, and maybe considering selling your work, is to get your work seen by people and just gauge their reaction. Now, if people are starting to inquire about your work and asking you how much a piece is, when you're not actually offering it for sale, well, then you can tell at least, okay, there's some positive value. I mean, this person is interested in my work. Again, whether they're willing to pay $50, $100, or $500, that's something you don't know. But I would say until you are getting requests from people to actually get art from you, so whether even as a gift, or something like that, until people are inquiring or asking you how much you charge, then you can just assume that they're really not interested in your art. And at the end of the day, it's the public that determines how much your art is worth. So unless people have actually kind of approached you about how much you would charge for a piece, or showing an interest in actually hanging a piece of your art, then you can just assume that the public really doesn't value your work yet. And it would really just be an exercise in futility, quite frustrating and probably demoralizing, to try and put your work out there for sale. So it's better off, I think you're better off to spend most of your energies on improving your art. So improving things like drawing skills, improving things like paint handling techniques, color theory, composition, all of that type of stuff. Take some workshops with instructors, learn more techniques, and just put all of your efforts into improving your work until people start to approach you with an interest in your work. Now, once you've actually kind of got to that stage and you want to think about selling your work, and you want to know, well, what should I charge for my work? I actually have a video on pricing your work when you're first starting out. I'll throw that up on the end screen. Now, for those of you who are really interested in selling your work, I have a webinar that I've created, the 10 keys to selling your art. It's a free webinar, and I'll put a link in the description below that you can just click on that to go to it, or you can go to www.aspiringartist.ca for that, sign up for that free training. And I also have a video specifically on how to price your art when you're starting out, and another one on raising your prices, on when and how you actually go about raising your prices. So I hope you found that helpful. Don't forget to click on the subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.